Broke narcissists are the most dangerous type you will ever encounter. Because when a narcissist is desperate for survival, they lose every last ounce of shame. Their manipulation turns raw, their emotions become weapons, and words are designed to disarm your logic. They do not want your love or attention anymore. No, it's beyond that. They want to exploit you. They want your shelter, money, resources, time, and on top of that, emotional labor. When they are financially cornered, they suddenly appear human. You'll see tears, vulnerability, and maybe even humility. But it's all strategy. This version of the narcissist is not honest or broken, it's calculating. And this is where most people fall into the trap. That's why I said it's the most dangerous type of a narcissist. I'm Danish, a narcissistic abuse recovery professional. In today's episode, we're going to talk about 5 languages of a broke, desperate narcissist. Number 5 is life changing, so stay until the very end. Before we get started, I've created a free guide that answers the top 10 burning questions asked by every single survivor of narcissistic abuse. If you want instant access, click the link in the description or in the comments to download it now. Let's start with the first interesting language, the language of self pity. When a narcissist is broke, they start speaking what I call the self pity language. This is when they act like the victim of life itself. They say things like, nothing ever works out for me. Oh, or people always leave me when I need them most. They talk about struggle. It's not to just make you feel empathetic, but to trap you in it. The goal is to make you drop your guard. You start thinking, oh, they're not dangerous because they're being vulnerable. They're just hurt. That's exactly the reaction they want from you. If it is a male narcissist, he may say, I've had a tough life. I just need a safe space to figure things out for a while. You will naturally feel sorry. And what next? Out of compassion, you will offer comfort. You may even say, it's okay. You can stay with me until you get back on your feet. That is when you have unconsciously already lost the first battle. Because the moment you provide safety to this type of a narcissist, they take control of your resources. Your home becomes their shelter, savings become their backup plan, and empathy becomes their personal ATM. They do not present themselves as dangerous. And that's what makes them so dangerous. They present themselves as damaged. And that's the emotional illusion that makes this and them so effective. Number 2, the deflection language. Once you start helping, the next language begins. This is modern witchcraft that we're talking about because they bind you to this spell through deflection language. They never take responsibility for their situation. Every loss has a story, every failure has a villain. You will hear things like, my ex ruined me financially. I was betrayed by people I trusted in business. Or the system, what can I tell you, is against me. They turn accountability into a foreign concept. If you ask, why didn't you save money when you had the chance? They'll say, you don't understand. I was in survival mode. What could I do? If you ask, why don't you look for a job? Go look for a job like everybody else. They'll say, it's not worth it. People are fake. Their excuses are poetic almost and endless. They deflect to protect their ego, but not only that, to delay change as well. Because change requires effort, right? And effort does not suit them. You may hear them say they're too traumatized to function, too misunderstood to work, or too spiritual for this worldly nonsense. That is their refined manipulation. They use psychological and emotional vocabulary to make laziness sound like depth or dysfunction. What you will notice over time is that they have the language of pain, but no actions of recovery. They talk about healing, but they never do it. They talk about growth, but only from the comfort of your couch. They stay in the story where they're noble but powerless, and you are the only one who can save them. Number 3, the crisis language. When deflection no longer buys sympathy, they escalate to the crisis language. This is when they start creating or exaggerating emergencies to keep you emotionally engaged. Every week there's a new disaster. I lost my wallet. My landlord is threatening to evict me. My health is collapsing. That's what they are going to tell you. They keep you in a loop of urgency because urgency is the perfect disguise for irresponsibility. When you're constantly responding to chaos, you do not have time to question the pattern, do you? Because you are panicking. The broke narcissist thrives in instability. They'll make you feel guilty for being calm when they're falling apart. They will tell you, oh, you're lucky, you have everything, just to justify why you should hand over your money. The more you help, the deeper they sink, and the more guilty you feel for wanting peace. They keep the crisis alive because that is their only way to keep you close. Eventually, you will realize that every emergency comes just in time for rent or right before a bill or exactly when they sense you're about to pull away. Their life is not falling apart, I'm telling you. It is a performance. Once they have drained your empathy, they switch to their favorite addiction, the validation language. This is where the narcissist starts talking in brands, status, and associations. They pretend to be more refined than they are. They talk about quality, taste, and standards. They wear expensive clothes they did not pay for. They join groups they cannot afford. And they chase the illusion of being elite and posh. They live for appearances. They'll take pictures in fancy places, name drop successful people, and act like they belong to a world far above their reality. If they are completely broke, they will use charm and borrowed confidence to blend in. This is where you see the true financial narcissism. They don't want stability, they want superiority. They will rather owe 10 people money than admit they are struggling. They measure worth by perception, not production. It is not about having money in the first place. It's about looking like the kind of person who deserves it. Think about that. They'll say things like, oh, I only like fine things, or I could never settle for less. Grandiosity display. In truth, they're addicted to validation. It's entitlement because it feeds their false self, their identity. Every lie they tell, every expense they fake, friendship they forge, it's all to maintain the illusion that they are not one of the poor ones, the broke ones. But underneath the designer mask is debt, dependency, and deep shame that they won't acknowledge to other people. Language 5 is important, the fantasy language, the most dangerous one. This is when the broke narcissist completely loses touch with reality. They become delusional. They speak in grand visions, not plans. They dream out loud but never take a single step. They will tell you, I'm working on something big. Once my project takes off, we'll be set for life. Future faking. There's always a next month or a big investor coming or a life changing deal that never materializes. At first, you will mistake it for ambition, but over time, you will realize it is delusion. It's a full blown denial of responsibility. They fantasize because reality exposes their failures. This is where narcissism and psychosis start blending. Their imagination becomes a substitute for effort. They will spend hours manifesting instead of working. They'll post motivational quotes instead of applying for jobs, or convince you that your lack of faith in them is the reason things have not worked out. You will find yourself living in their imaginary world where tomorrow always holds the miracle and today is just a waiting room. By the time you wake up, months or years will have passed and you will have financed their delusion while they will have drained your willpower. That's how it is. In the end, every broke narcissist speaks all five languages fluently. They mix self pity with deflection, crisis with fantasy, and validation with delusion. Each one keeps you hooked in a different way, emotionally, mentally, or financially. They do not just take your money, no, they take your momentum. They slow your progress while pretending to be your responsibility. If you have ever found yourself paying their bills, covering their rent, or feeling guilty for saying no, it is manipulation disguised as helplessness. And that's why broke narcissists are the most dangerous. The rich ones may buy control, yes, they do, but the broke ones make you volunteer it. If you found this helpful, make sure to download the free guide I mentioned earlier. It answers the top 10 questions survivors of narcissistic abuse struggle with and helps you start breaking free from emotional and financial manipulation. The link is right below in the comments. With that, let's bring this one to an end. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you in the next one. Until then, as always, let the healing begin and continue.